Good afternoon, Sierra Leone. Good afternoon, Kono District. This is David Bongbo coming to you from Kono News Network, and I want to welcome you all this weekend. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic called Why African Institutions Struggle to Broker Peace and How Do We Fix It? But before we get on to that, I want to thank everybody who has been a subscriber to my channel. And those that have not subscribed yet, I want to encourage you to do so that we can all build this channel together. There are several conflicts in Africa. There are several blocs in Africa who try to settle these conflicts. But to a certain extent, we see that these African blocs in the north, east, west, and south, and even in the central, have not been able to succeed in stopping conflicts in most parts of Africa. For example, we see what is happening in Sudan, Somalia, and in the Congos. So we want to look at specific reasons why African institutions are really struggling to build peace or broker peace between conflict zones in Africa, and how do we fix it? So we look at a big question: why are African institutions like the African Union, ECOWAS, and other regional blocs struggling to broker peace on the continent, while outside leaders, including Western powers, often succeed? Recently, even former US President, who is also currently the president now, Donald Trump, claimed credit for brokering peace between Congo and Rwanda. So what is Africa really missing, and how do we fix it? That is what we want to discuss. Firstly, we have to look at this: political will and unity. Many African leaders talk peace, but when it comes to action, national interest comes first. And if leaders don't stand together, regional organizations cannot speak with one loud voice. And without unity, there is no strong peace. Secondly, I have here, depending on external funding. The AU and ECOWAS depend heavily on Western donors for peacekeeping money. When someone pays the bill, they influence the decisions. And so this weakens Africa's independence and slows down their actions. Also, we see weak enforcement of power. African blocs can issue statements, resolutions, and communiques, but can they enforce them? That is the question to ask. Most times, no. So sanctions are weak. Peacekeepers deployments are very slow, and then armed groups and governments don't feel the pressure, even when they make sanctions. Number 4, we have bureaucracy and slow response to crises. While Western powers act quickly, African institutions most through committees, panels, and long meetings. Okay, by the time decisions are made, conflicts have already escalated. My fifth point is this: lack of trust among African states. Some governments believe their neighbors use regional bodies to chase political advantage. This lack of trust makes mediation very, very difficult. In contrast, outsiders appear neutral, even when they are not really neutral. Also, rivalries and hidden agendas. African countries sometimes support different factions in a conflict. So how can an institution broker peace when its own members fuel the war? Western leverage and power. Let's be very honest. Western nations have economic muscles, military influence, and diplomatic pressure. They can threaten sanctions, cut aid, or mobilize international partners very fast. That gives them negotiation power that African blocs struggle to get. So, what is missing in Africa and how do we fix it? This is number one, financial independence. Africa must fund its own peace mission. Once we stop depending on donors, we will negotiate from a position of strength. Two, a strong African peacekeeping force. A rapid response African standby force, well funded, well trained, and ready to deploy will change the game. Peace must not wait for paperwork. Next, stronger sanctions and consequences. African institutions must say, if you start war, you face real punishment. No more empty threats, no more selective enforcement. Bold, honest, and leadership. Peace requires leaders who speak truth to power. Leaders who put the continent above personal politics. Leaders who are not afraid to pressure warlords or presidents. Number 5, I have reducing rivalries between states. Africa must stop fighting proxy wars. Once neighbors stop undermining each other, the continent can negotiate as one family. Next, we have cutting bureaucratic delays. Streamline the AU and ECOWAS. Less paperwork, more action. Less talking, more doing. Number 7, I have building trust with the people. Local communities, civil society, women's group, and youth must be involved in peace process. When people trust the process, peace will surely last. Strengthening early warning systems. Prevent conflict before it explodes. Use technology, community network, and intelligence sharing to react very, very early. And number 9, before I close, African unity and a single strong voice. When Africa speaks with one voice, the world listens. When Africa is divided, outsiders take over the mediation. In closing, I have this. So why can outsiders broker peace while African institutions are struggling? It is not because outsiders are better. It is because Africa has the tools, the people, the wisdom, but not yet the unity, the strength, or the independence needed to act swiftly and decisively. But the solutions are in our hands. With stronger institutions, financial independence, bold leadership, and unity, Africa can become its own biggest peace broker. Until then, the continent will continue to rely on outsiders to solve African problems. And if that is the case, we will always rely on international bodies to broker peace within our own continent. If we see what is happening in the West, in the Sahel region, there's lots of conflicts within that area, but we believe that the 3 countries that have come together to form a bloc are doing far better in terms of their independence when they were under the French rule. So I will stop here so far, and I want to thank you all for listening. Please share, like,